now, 2 years back, with core aim to focus on promoting prudent investment behavior among retail investors like us, retail investors in the country. And our founder of this Lotus, B. Sarath Sarma, Sarath Bhamidipati Sarma, he brings a wealth of experience in mutual funds, then real estate and capital markets. The core skill sets of the firm lie in channelizing savings of individuals into appropriate asset classes and avoiding investment traps so to achieve their long-term and short-term financial goals. So the discussion will briefly touch upon. So today's topic and our discussion. So that is going to touch upon following things like number one, structure of mutual funds in India, then role of SEBI, then sponsor, trustees, AMCs, custodians, distributors, etc. Then third one is we are going to discuss risk return analysis of products and understanding functioning of departments, various departments involved in mutual fund and processes of mutual fund industry. Then opportunities for cost accountants, we CMA. So what are the opportunities lying for CMAs in mutual fund industries? Then I will also touch upon introduction of my friend Sarath Bhamidipati. So Sarath and myself, we were classmates, and we did not we did a BE in production engineering, VJTI, Mumbai University. Then Sarath has done MBA finance from IBMR, Pune University. Then he has done his executive education also from Wharton Business School, Pennsylvania, in 2004. He started his career with Foseco. Okay, Foseco, that is the foundry, and at Chinchwad. It was at Chinchwad, Pune. So he worked on foundry chemicals and equipments. And after his post MBA, he spent over 20 years in financial markets, predominantly in asset management, business and real estate advisory. So before starting his own, that is Lotus Financial in 2018, he was executive director at IDBI AMC and has previously worked with various groups like JM Financial, then Temasek, then various mutual fund companies. Okay, so over to Sarath, and Sarath will explain us mutual fund thoroughly and role of CMAs also.
My dear friend Ashish, first of all, thank you to the entire CMA chapter of Pimpri Chinchwad Akudi for inviting me here. It's really a privilege. We need good platforms to spread our knowledge, and whatever we acquired. In financial markets, no knowledge is final. We learn every day. And I'm sure this is a very important part of the entire gamut of financial services as we go forward. And my special thanks to Vikas for arranging all the things that are required to get this started. And Shri Jayanji, Dhananjay Saab, thank you very much for the opportunity to connect with all of you. Young, senior, and learning CMAs, I'll be very happy to take you through the journey, albeit in a very short and I would say in a, I would rather say, touch upon the key points of mutual funds. Now, what is a mutual fund? A mutual fund is nothing but a pool of assets that is managed with a purpose. Now, I can say I'm Sharad Sharma. I am very good in management of money. Please give me money. So all of you will give me 500 rupees each, and I start investing. Now, that is certainly, it is called a pool of investments, but it is not a mutual fund. The mutual funds, the entire, the trust, mutual is something called as I do for you and you do for me. So that the word mutual itself is so important, that there is so much of trust regulation, all this associated with the word mutual fund. So I want to actually take this session for you budding fledgling CMAs, people who are doing their courses, people who are experienced, people who are advisors, people who are advising companies, people who are CEOs, people who are fund managers. So my first brush with ICWA started in 1997. One of the brightest fund manager in India was just simple BCom ICWA. His name was Mr. Nand Kumar Surti. He was considered to be one of the finest debt fund managers of the country. I'm talking a long back. So the study of accounting is very important for analyzing a company, analyzing its prospects, analyzing its balance sheet, analyzing its liquidity. So I always thought that I should do ICWA, but it was too tough a course. I finished my MBA, and I thought that was the easier course. And then, as usual, after doing MBA, you join sales, and that's where I started learning speaking. And the sales was a rewarding career in mutual funds when they started. And I rose to the position of executive director in IDBI Mutual Fund before I quit and started my own venture. So I will just touch upon what a mutual fund is. A mutual fund is actually a trust. It's a trust that is created with the money of unit holders by an asset management company. Both the trustee company and the asset management company are actually formed by a sponsor. So a sponsor is a company which has spent some years in financial services, is profitable for the last 3 years, and currently it has got a net worth of 50 crores. And it's a stable company whose promoters are respectable in the business. So these are the basic requirements of a sponsor. The sponsor makes a request to SEBI, the Security Exchange Board of India, and he gets a license for floating a mutual fund. The first thing that a sponsor does is hire a trustee. Now, a trustee is by far the most important, I would say, caddy of the mutual fund. He is the person who says, I am responsible or fiduciarily responsible for the money of the unit holders. I will see how the money is being managed. I will ensure that the money is being managed as per SEBI regulations. And I will see that there is no deviation from the SEBI regulations, and the unit holders' money is managed in the way it has been told them or has been written in the offer document. And mutual fund managers are adhering to all the basic principles and regulations of SEBI. So in the entire mutual fund, the trustee's role is the most important. They are either eminent people, people who have a lot of experience in financial markets, people who are bankers, who are MDs, who are directors, executive directors, or have been chartered accountants, cost accountants of repute. They are taken on the board of trustees. These trustees appoints an asset management company. The asset management company is the karta dharta, डेली का काम करना, पैसे लेके आना, पैसे मैनेज करना, पैसे कहाँ से आए देखना, इन्वेस्टर ने रिडम्पशन किया तो उसको पैसे देना, ये जो डेली मुंडेन काम है, this is done by the asset management company. So the sponsor, SEBI, trustee, asset management company, these are the 4 key things which make a mutual fund. Now I will just take you through Vikas. Can you just start the slide? If you can start the slide, it is fine. Otherwise, I think I can do extempore also.
Actually, sir, you have sent it to me on WhatsApp.
Where do you want to tell me?
Can you send me that? I can start.
Where do you want to? I can send you. You want me to forward it?
Yes, sir. I will forward to my email.
Okay, tell me the email ID. Same email ID, na? Just hold on.
Bharat, can you send me on WhatsApp?
Yeah, I can. I have already sent you on WhatsApp.
Acha, sorry.
Or you can tell me email ID also I can.
Is that?
Have you got it, or do you want me to send?
Hello, I am starting it.
Yeah, okay.
Bharat, I am starting. Don't worry.
Yeah, no problem. I'll wait.
Yeah, it's
So, so with great engineers like Ashish and Prakash Kanzode, there is no problem.
Prakash is besides me, so
I know. I can take it out. He only got me started on the mobile. So now coming back to
okay. Can you see that now?
all of you are able to see it. I have it on front of you.
Is presentation visible to all?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Now, we can move according to what I'm saying. So now we'll go to the challenges involved in investing directly. So what are mutual fund? Mutual fund is nothing but is investing in underlying securities. I say an equity mutual fund, I am buying shares of various companies. If I am saying I am a debt mutual fund, I am buying bonds of various companies. An investor can do it directly. There is no problem. Why a mutual fund is important and what are the requirements of a mutual fund? So first of all, if I say that the most expensive stock in the Indian stock exchange, can anybody make a guess? The most expensive stock is MRF. The peak price of MRF was almost close to 90,000 rupees. So a small investor cannot even buy one share of MRF. But even with 500 rupees or 1000 rupees, you can actually own a fraction of the MRF share. So the requirement of large capital while investing directly, time that is required to research companies, expertise to get on to the latest news. Information flow is quite good nowadays with a lot of media availability and understanding volatility. When some news happens, how to react. These are generally the problems associated with the retail investor. Now, a mutual fund is run by a professional. So all the challenges are actually very well, I would say, uh, adapted and mastered by a professional. So what are the key considerations of an investor? What does an investor want? Investor doesn't want superlative returns. Investor wants that his money is invested in, I would say, yeah. So investor wants basically a safety of his money, that he should know that his money is not being invested in stocks or in bonds that have not been researched. Investor wants liquidity. He might need money at any point of time, irrespective of uh, the the time he is actually willing to spend in the market, but he might require money at any point of time. Liquidity is very important. Convenience of investment, how is he able to invest, whether it will take a rocket science or it will require a few days to invest. No, nowadays investing in mutual funds is quite simple. Liquidity is good. Safety depends on what kind of fund you choose and what are the returns and what are the post-tax returns actually for HNI. So these are the considerations of an investor. So I'm taking you to a screen where I have tried to explain how the entire mutual fund structure works inside the AMC. This is very important for all of you because as I see the future of financial services, especially the banking, the insurance, the mutual funds, the PMS will become very large part of recruiters, of cost accountants, chartered accountants, MBA graduates, CFAs. They will all have a very, I would say, good careers in the financial services space. So there is something, a slide called the structure of mutual funds. Well, I'll start with the investor. Now, this structure of mutual funds, it starts with the investor. An investor wants to invest money. He has got some amount to be invested. What does he do? Either a distributor or an agent contacts him, and this distributor is in contact with the salesperson of the mutual fund. Now, the investor invests, say, 5,000 rupees. The salesperson collects it and banks the check. The check is banked, and after the check is cleared, the salesperson informs the company that this investor has come with this much of money. Please create units for him. A unit is created by something called as RNT, Registrar and Transfer Agent. It is either CAMS or CARVI, whose major RNTs. They coordinate with the mutual fund and create units and send him an account statement. Once a unit is created for the investor, his money is given to the operations team. The operations team identifies what is the scheme in which the person is investing. Suppose a person is investing in an index fund, a Nifty 50 index fund. The money goes to the fund manager. The fund manager knows that this 5,000 rupees of Mr. Ashish Deshmukh has to be invested in a Nifty 50 index only. The fund manager has got two divisions that support him. One is risk manager, which is very important, and one is research. The research people continuously try to tell him what are the changes that he needs to do the portfolio if it is an actively managed fund, the stocks that he should look into. They are suggesting based on the latest results, the trends in the market, their own expertise in various, I would say, sectors. And the risk person tells them that they should not invest very large amounts in one company. They should not invest very heavily in one sector. So the risk management and research together both feed into the fund manager and enable him to make a decision. The fund manager is the most important person in the mutual fund. He is the person who actually makes a decision where to invest. He is the person who decides when to exit a company or exit a bond or which sector to invest. And he is the sole one person who is responsible to give returns to the investor. So the fund manager is very ably assisted by the research and the risk management people. Once the fund manager invests or decides to invest in the market, he goes to the brokers who are available in the market. There are large brokers who are called institutional brokers. And he tells them, I want to buy 5,000 Tata Steel today. They execute the deal. The brokers executed the deal. And 5,000 Tata Steel goes to the mutual fund custody account. So the custodian is responsible for holding the value or holding the assets of the mutual fund. So this is also very important. The custodian reports to trustees that today we bought 500 crores worth of Tata Steel. These are the shares available in this custody. We are reporting to you. The trustee should know that the fund manager today brought 500 crores and that amount has been credited, the investor's money, the shares are lying in the custody. The custody is generally a very large bank, which is a very responsible bank. So when the fund manager decides to sell or investor wants to exit, the fund manager sells in the market and the shares of the custody are converted back into money, and investor service or RNT agent extinguishes the units and gives back the money to the investor. This is called the entire cycle of investments. So any person who understands this entire cycle will know that mutual fund working, although it looks very simple from outside, has got a lot of small areas of functions which require very good accountants. The places where I have seen a lot of accountants, be it cost accountants or I would say chartered accountants, are in the area of cash flow management, in the area of fund management, in the area of research and risk management. In custody, there are a lot of accountants. Also in NAV. Now, one thing which is not visible here is called the NAV. NAV is called the net asset value of the fund. It is nothing but the total assets of the fund divided by the total units of the fund minus all the expenses for that day. So what does a mutual fund earn? It earns its fees. So typically the fees are very low in debt funds or cash funds, and up to 2% or 2.5% in actively managed equity funds per annum. So this is the fees which the mutual fund or the AMC gets, and provides the entire this service, this gamut of service of right from distributor to redemption. The entire circle of the mutual fund investor is funded by the fees. So if we understand the entire structure of mutual funds, we'll be able to appreciate, I would say, the regulations or the well-regulated structure of the mutual fund, and also we can appreciate that the mutual funds are typically very well regulated. They are not easily formed. They cannot easily deviate from their stated objectives, and it is fairly, I would say, in Indian markets or globally also, but I would say Indian regulations are much better than global regulations when it comes to regulating mutual funds. So it can be considered a safe and a very viable place for a retail investor to invest in, I would say, various kinds of assets. Now, what are the types of mutual fund? Typically, that is the next we'll see. The types of mutual fund are closed-ended funds, which once you invest, you cannot redeem until certain period of time is elapsed. So these are closed-ended funds. Typically, my suggestion is that closed-ended funds, people should invest only if it is a tax fund where there is a 3-year lock-in. Otherwise, a normal investor should always go to an open-ended fund, because in an open-ended fund, he has ability to exit if he doesn't like the way the fund is being managed, if he doesn't like the markets, or he is advised that the markets are not good. Thirdly, he might have huge requirements which are unforeseen. So typically, what I would suggest is a retail investor should always come to an open-ended fund only. And within open-ended funds, there are various kinds of funds. There are equity funds, there are debt funds, and there are cash funds. Now, I'll just explain briefly what is a cash fund. A cash fund is typically a liquid fund. It is a substitute to a savings account. So what happens? Typically, a large investor, say a corporate, who has got a payment to be made for a machinery he is importing, say 200 crores. He has to make a payment after 10 days, but the bank has already sanctioned a loan to him, and it is lying in his current account. Now, till he uses that money after 10 days, he wants to place this money into money market instruments. But every corporate might not have a treasury person who is an expert in having a money market knowledge or buying money market instruments which mature with his requirement of money. So what he does is he puts the money into a cash fund of any mutual fund, a large mutual fund, say a HDFC, a Reliance, Nippon, ICICI, IDFC, any fund. And this money is invested in money market instruments, either like a CD, a certificate of deposit of a bank, or is invested in a CP, is a commercial paper of a well-rated corporate. And whatever return comes, which is typically in the range of savings bank returns, is shared with the corporate who invests the money. So these are cash funds. The lowest risk funds typically are cash funds, liquid funds. So nowadays, we have seen that the FD rates are coming down, savings rates are coming down across banks, and the interest rate scenario in the economy is quite low because we are responding to a pandemic. Also, technically, we have seen low inflation for some time, so interest rates have come down. So all the individual investors can also benefit by parking their money in liquid funds or cash funds, and these are easily withdrawable in 1 day's notice. So if you redeem today, the money is credited in your account tomorrow. So then comes debt funds. So people generally think that mutual funds are nothing but equity funds. They're invested only in stocks. No, there are a lot of debt funds. Debt funds are typically funds that invest for Bjaj, or typically they invest in bonds. Like today, L&T wants to borrow money for its project. it can go to a bank and take a loan, but generally it would prefer to come to the capital market and borrow for 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, depending on his project requirements. And these needs are generally funded by a mutual fund, a debt mutual fund. And in lieu of the investment by debt mutual funds, they get interest rates. Now, this interest or the pool of debentures is called a debt fund. So typically, debt funds can give you marginally higher return than FDs, generally protect capital unless they are invested in bad credit, and are more safer than equity funds. At the same time, there are a lot of risks in debt funds also. I will explain to you the risks in debt funds also. And then the third category is the fund category, which nowadays is quite common to retail investors. It is the equity mutual funds. In equity mutual funds, there are various kinds of mutual funds, right from an index fund that replicates index. Then there comes a large cap fund, which invests only in top 100 companies that are listed on the exchanges. Then a mid cap, which invests in 100 to 250th large cap or capitalization, market capitalization in the stock exchanges. And then small cap, which invests below 250 market cap of the company. So these are the various funds. Then we have sectoral funds like a pharma fund, a IT fund, or a metal fund, various funds. These are high risk funds, basically because they invest only in one sector. So while I also advise a lot of HNIs and individual investors and also some corporates on management or better management of money, I always tell retail people that you always start with the safest of the equity funds, that is an index fund. You need not beat the index and get huge returns. If you are able to get index returns consistently, that will create fantastic wealth for ourselves in long term. And then once you get accustomed to the volatility, the movements of index, then slowly you can migrate to other funds. Typically, don't invest in more than 5 funds. If you're doing SIP, 3 to 4 funds are more than enough for whatever quantum you want to invest. Choose funds based on their past track record, their behavior in various markets, upward markets, downward markets. So these studies are done by mutual fund distributors or mutual fund advisors, and they suggest funds based on whatever they feel is good. Whatever, they might not always be right, but typically a good advisor will look at the fund's behavior in various kinds of markets, the fund managers' understanding of sectors and stocks. So my suggestion would be that as a professionals also, you should all look at investing in good funds, but always start, if you have not yet started your journey in the equity space, better to start with index funds. So what are the advantages of mutual funds? One is it's a professional management. So I will tell you a joke to make it a little lighter. The largest number of Demat accounts in our country were opened in 2008 when the Reliance Power IPO had come. On a single day, all the brokers, all the Demat companies were flooded with lakhs and lakhs of Demat applications. And we all know the story of Reliance Power. There's nobody in the country who made money in Reliance Power. But many individual investors are still holding it in the hope that kuch miracle ho jayega. Fund managers also made mistake. They also invested in Reliance Power, but they exited when it was 10% down. So a professional manager will react to the news, or even he's ready to cut a loss also. The individual investors typically hold on to losses and exit their profits very fast. So this behavior requires a lot of, I would say, experience to change. So we hold on to our losses and exit our profits. So a professional fund manager will cut down his losses fast, but hold on to its profits longer. That makes the biggest difference to wealth management. So they are professionally managed. Diversification, as I said, even with 10,000 rupees, you can buy MRF, you can buy Reliance, you can buy Nestle, you can buy Hindustan Lever. Nestle is 18,000 rupees. MRF is 80,000 rupees, Reliance is 3,000 rupees, Infosys is 1,500 rupees, or TCS is 3,000 rupees. But with 10,000 rupees, you can buy or have ownership of all these shares. That are the benefits of diversification. Administration is quite easy. You invest online, you get a statement immediately. You don't need a demat account to invest. Return potential depends on the risk you take. Risk and return go hand in hand. But there are certain risks we should never take, even if it promises you the highest return. I'll come to those kinds of risks. Very important is liquidity. There is a saying that the market can be illiquid for longer than you can be solvent. So this is a very famous saying by Warren Buffett, that liquidity is so important for everybody that we might be in the best asset class, but to realize its price might take very long. But you might not survive the illiquidity to get the benefit of that asset class. So liquidity is always important in any asset you put, be it real estate, be it gold, be it debt, be it Bitcoin. Liquidity provides you an option to relook at what you did. And without liquidity, sometimes we actually can go and sell it out at a distressed price. Flexibility, we can put money in cash fund, shift it to equity funds, shift it to debt funds. And as I said, the mutual fund industry by itself in India is very well regulated. And tax benefits are very secondary. Never invest for tax benefit. Tax benefit, only one product, ELSS, you should hold for 3 years. That's the only product I suggest that for tax benefits you should invest. But that too also in best of the equity funds, well-researched tax funds. So the objectives of an investor is capital preservation. Capital preservation can be done by investing in cash funds, liquid funds, very short-term debt funds. You preserve your capital. That is the purpose. To generate nominal income, you invest in debt funds, and to generate capital appreciation by taking higher risk, we invest in equity funds in mutual fund space. Generally, people have made huge capital appreciation in other asset classes like real estate. Maybe gold has also given capital appreciation to a certain extent. Why should people invest in equity? The basic reason why people should invest in equity is all about ownership of business. You all know the structure of shares in India. When you are buying one share of Nestle or a Lever or a Reliance or a TCS, you are also becoming the owner of TCS. So if TCS does well, you will get a dividend. If TCS gets a fantastic, I would say, contract, the share appreciates, you as an owner get the participation. So equity is about ownership. We all know the richest people of the world are not employees. Unfortunately, we all have been employees for very long. There are some born entrepreneurs like our Ashish Bhai, who have seen multiple enterprises, who have seen the ups and downs of enterprise. But we know that the richest people in the world are not salaried people, which I realized very late after almost 25 years of serving various companies. Then I decided, let me try to be an entrepreneur. But let's see how the journey goes. But as you say, if you own a business, there is a chance that you at least can create large amount of wealth. As an employee, yes, we'll live a normal life. We'll be wealthier. Today, salaries are fantastic in some companies. And if we get salary like Sundar Pichai or somebody, I would rather not do any business in life. But as I said, if you see the top 1,000 people, richest people of the world, they'll not be salaried people. So the only way we all know to be or create immense wealth is to participate as an owner. What happens when you are investing in a debt fund? You are not an owner, you are a lender. So lending will, initially, I think, say 500 years back, the richest people in India were money lenders. What we used to call saukars. Saukar used to have the maximum wealth in any village or any panchayat. But slowly we have seen that with entrepreneurship, saukars are no longer the richest people. The people who are creating enterprise have become richer. So equity is a way to participate in the enterprise. So there's a simpler way of explaining why we should invest in equity, why we should choose good businesses and be the owner of a good business. Now, choosing good business is a very tough thing because business is all about risk taking. So who can choose a good business for you? The person who does good research. And who does a good research? People who have resources, both in terms of research associates, in terms of information flow, in terms of their own knowledge, education. So they are able to choose better businesses. So that is the reason a good fund manager will always have a high demand. So now there is a small graph about risk and return. As I said, risk and return go hand in hand. The lower the risk, lower the return. Higher the risk, higher the return. So sectoral funds is the highest risk products in equity. They can also give you highest risk and return. Similarly, a liquid fund is the lowest risk product in the mutual fund space. It will give you that 2.5%, 3% return annualized, but very less chance of losing your capital. And there are various ways to analyze mutual funds. Maybe a CRISIL, Value Research, Morningstar. These are agencies which rate mutual funds. So all of you can go to a website of Morningstar, Value Research. This will enhance our knowledge. Eventually, as I would say, you're all much more professionally qualified than most of us, uh, and you understand the accounting. You can even do research of a corporate balance sheet and its future viability in terms of its profitability and all. At the same time, you can also do study of the various portfolios, and I would say for personal gains also it is a very good habit to. So there is one important thing which I wanted to tell you. There is SIP, which is a very common jargon, systematic investment plan. So I want to explain to all of you how SIP works. Now, we all know that in summer, apples are very expensive. So generally, the price of apple in summer is 200 rupees a kilo, and in winters, apple is cheap. So the price of apple in winter is 100 rupees a kilo. So if I buy apple in summer also and apple in winter also, what will be the average price? It will be 200 plus 100 divided by 2. Am I right? So it is 150 rupees. But how does a mutual fund work? So we have spent 300 rupees for summer and winter and got 2 kilos of apple. How a SIP works? In summer, apple is 200. So I've got 200 rupees. I buy only 1 kilo. In winter, I've got 200 rupees. The apple is 100 rupees, but I buy 2 kilos. So I spent 400 rupees and bought how many kilos? 3 kilos. So the average price of a SIP investor is 133. So with 400 rupees, he bought 3 kilos. So his average price is 133. But if he buy 1 kilo in summer and 1 kilo in winter, the average price is only 150. So this is exactly the way SIP works. You invest the same amount every time. Just because the price has dropped, we don't reduce the investment. So when we invest in SIPs and hold in for long cycles, we are accumulating more units when the markets are down and accumulating less units when the market are up. So it's a disciplined way of investing. It's not a miracle. It is just a simple way of channelizing money into a risky asset. Because you buy risky asset at one point of time, it will give you sleepless nights. But if you buy risky asset every day, the best way of averaging is called daily averaging. So what I would suggest is that we should increase the frequency of SIPs. So if you are doing 3 SIPs, do one on 1st, one on 10th, one on 20th of every month, so that your pricing or buying points are higher, and this averaging, rupee cost averaging, works in your favor. So this is something which is an easier way to explain how SIP works and what is rupee cost averaging. And typically, there are a lot of risks. No return comes without risk. The worst risk we all have come across in the current markets is credit risk. A company looks very healthy, rosy, AAA, suddenly it becomes defunct, an NPA for a bank, and starts defaulting on its papers. the biggest risk an investor should be always wary of is credit risk. So why? Because by taking credit risk, the return doesn't go up too much. You are investing in a finance company in the Akurdi, say Bajaj Finance, you are getting 6%. And you are going to invest in a company in Hyderabad, some Chhatrapati Finance or Chalapati Finance, which you don't know. But it gives you only 2% extra. But you are risking your entire capital for that 2% extra. So do not actually take credit risk. It's a worst kind of risk in terms of risk return playoff. Then there is a lot of market risk, which is, I would say, a healthy risk. Market risk is a friend of a good investor. Credit risk is not a friend of a good investor. Then there is a risk of inflation. If you are investing in asset classes that do not go up as much as the inflation, your buying power comes down. And there is interest rate risk. Even in the safest of government securities, if you buy when the interest rates are very low and the interest rate cycle is going up, you can lose money even in bonds. So that is called interest rate risk. So if you want to reduce interest rate risk, you have to invest in lower duration papers or you have to hold for very long. So these are the various kinds of risks that are there in the mutual funds as well as any other securities. And as I said, you should always read the offer document before investing, not listen to anybody. Whoever advises you, you should do your own research. There are a lot of opportunities. As I would say, mutual fund industry is today a 25 lakh crore industry. It was just about 50,000 crore industry 20 years back. It has almost grown at the rate of 20% CAGR over the last 20 years. I foresee that over the next 20 years, this will grow almost at the same rate. And mutual funds will overtake or will be almost equivalent to bank deposits in India in the next decade or two. And this will throw up a lot of opportunities for finance professionals, cost accountants, chartered accountants, MBAs, CFAs in research, investment management, custodial operations, in the area of NAV computation, in the area of corporate research, sectoral research, company research, risk management. And I can say and I can vouch that mutual funds are certainly one of the best paying financial industry of the world. The reason is that it's scalability. The same 100 people can manage 5,000 crores. The same 100 people can manage 50,000 crores. The same 100 people can manage 5 lakh crores. So the ability of the mutual fund to retain and pay its employees is very high. A lot of mutual funds are getting listed, and the ESOPs that the fund managers have made are to the tune of hundreds of crores, who have spent some 20, 30 years in the industry. So this is an area where I would also suggest young cost accountants to look at as career, and certainly any requirement or any help they require, as a friend and as a guide, I can always help you on the skills required to get into mutual funds. So that's it from my side. I wanted to keep it simple and open to take questions, which I think will further enhance whatever little knowledge I have, I can share with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now I request all the members, if you have any question, please unmute yourself and ask the question.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. How to start investing in mutual funds, sir?
See, basically, there's something called as KYC. Know your investor. It requires nothing but a PAN and your photograph and an address proof. A KYC is now can be done online or through any fund. But I would suggest that, first of all, if you have an advisor or a distributor who has approached you, get your KYC done. Once you do your KYC, start with pure, simple, Nifty index fund, SIP. There are a lot of index funds. To just name a few, UTI, SBI, ICICI, all have got Nifty index funds. Anybody who wants to start his journey in mutual funds should start with a SIP of a small amount of say 5,000 rupees or 2,000 rupees, depending on. Watch it for 6 months. It will give you confidence. Nothing runs away. Markets will go up and they will come down. And you need not be afraid. आज market भाग रहा है तो पैसे लगा देना, आज ही लगाना चाहिए. Start with a index fund, SIP. Watch it. If you hold it for long, it will always give you decent returns. So for all of you, the best way to start journey in mutual funds is to do your KYC online and invest in any index fund, typically a Nifty 50 index fund. Yeah, I hope it clarifies.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
I have one question. Right now, the market is at an all-time high.
Yeah.
So, is it the right time to invest, or should we wait for the market to get down at some level?
See, as I said, our ability to predict the market is very poor. Okay? Be it the best of the guys in the world, their ability to predict the market is very poor. Nobody knew just a year back that we'll have a pandemic. Nobody will know in future whether there will be a China-Taiwan war. Nobody will know whether India will have a border skirmish with China, which will impact. So markets are high. We should not get carried away. If we are continuing an SIP, let it continue. But typically, the day market falls, that day we should show some courage and invest a little bit. But if you are continuing SIP, to start an SIP in a Nifty fund or Nifty 50 fund, no day is a bad day. Invest some large amounts in when the markets go up, or even when the market is down, we don't have the courage typically. But if you are an equity investor and have studied a company very well, so look at the price of the company, don't look at the price of the market. So today, market is at all-time high. L&T is down 50% from its peak. ITC is down 40% from its peak. Reliance is down 20% from its peak. So you will always find good companies which are not at high price. So our ability, or the fund manager's ability, is always to find companies that are not fully priced to their potential. So you'll always find good companies in all markets. But if you want to buy the market, don't buy it at one shot. Buy it slowly over a 10-year period. And I can guarantee you that if you do a small SIP in a Nifty fund over 10-year period, your returns will be more than any other investment, be it real estate, gold, or any other place. You will get the highest return from a plain index fund, averaged monthly over a 10-year period. You start today also, there's no problem.
Thank you, sir. One more question. Hello?
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Today, the current situation is like, because of the pandemic, the economy is down. So, and market is at a very high level. So there is some mismatch, means according to as per our knowledge. So is it okay to go? There are various mutual funds also. They have their own credit rating agency. So how much more we can depend on that credit agency to get into some mutual fund?
See, credit rating agencies are typically only for debt funds. Okay. And you said that the market is at an all-time high and economy is not doing well. Markets are always either forward-looking. So markets react very badly to a bad news, and they will not wait for the bad news to happen. They will fall before the bad news or the actual bad news unveils. Similarly, markets don't wait for economy to recover. So markets are heavily forward-looking. So react much faster to a growth and react very badly to a fall that is likely to happen. So there will always be a mismatch in the market. Our job is to invest maximum. Markets are down, and invest less. As I said, how the SIP works, buy less number of units when the market is up. So I would say that if you want to look at stocks, you can look at stocks that are undervalued, but there will always be mismatch between economy and markets because they both work with a lag and lead effect. Our job is to invest regularly in market and give the money to a good fund manager. It is his job. But if you are wanting to buy directly stocks, I think you should do fantastic research. You all have the benefit of good studies, good knowledge, understanding of balance sheets, P&Ls. Study them and find undervalued companies. And if you find one, you tell me also.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Yeah, good day.
Sir, all the if you invest in some mutual funds, do all the mutual funds give us a tax exemption in while filing returns?
No. Only one kind of mutual fund gives tax exemption. That is ELSS, Equity Linked Savings Schemes. They are typically 3-year close-ended, I would say, interval products. Once you invest, you can redeem only after 3 years. They give you benefit under Section 80C up to 1,50,000. That's all. No other fund gives. But mutual funds have lower tax rate while you redeem on the day of redemption. And long-term capital gains in equity funds is at the rate of 10% plus surcharge, and short-term capital gain is at the rate of 15% plus surcharge before 1 year. So they are better than an FD when it comes to equity funds. Debt funds and all, they are taxed similar to an FD. So equity funds have the benefit of lower taxation, but they carry higher risk.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, we can redeem mutual funds anytime?
Yeah. On any day, if it is an open-ended fund, typically what I suggest to people, we should exit before 3 o'clock. You get your money in T+3. T+ is the third working day after the day of redemption. Most of the mutual funds you can redeem on any working day. That is, the market should be operating on that.
Okay,
In debt funds, it's T+1. You redeem today, you get the money tomorrow in your account. Equity is T+3. The daily exit is not. See, the difference between insurance and insurance-linked investment product and mutual fund is one big suggestion. It locks you up, so it drains your liquidity. Whereas a mutual fund gives you constant liquidity.
There is any loss if we redeem early than the period defined by us? So
yeah, it is not about loss. There are typically certain load structures that if you are exiting within 1 year, a 1% exit load. Typically, these kind of loads are given to guide the investment behavior. Basically, that people do not come and trade on funds. They should come and stay at least for 1 year. So because equity funds are not for short term, ideal holding periods are 3 to 5 years. And I would suggest in the current scenario, it becomes longer. So people who trade short term typically are charged a % or so as an exit load.
okay, thank you, sir.
So, sir, as you said that exit load is so. If we are keeping a mutual fund for less than 1 year, then only exit load is charged, or means what is the rule?
Yeah. Typically, exit load of 1% is charged for normal funds within 1 year. For funds like index funds, which are not active funds, there are no exit loads also. There are many equity funds where there is no exit loads. Debt funds, the exit load is very less. Because debt funds, you can exit for short term also. But in equity funds, which are called active equity funds, typically 1 year exit load of 1% is charged.
What is mid-cap fund, sir?
See, as I told you, there are a lot of companies that are listed on the exchange. On Indian stock exchanges, more than 5,000 companies are listed. At one point of time, they were up to 8,000. So the first 100 companies are called large cap companies, top 100 companies. The next 100 to 250th are called mid cap companies. Anything less than 250 rank in market capitalization is called a small cap. This is the regulation, or this is a definition done by SEBI. So mid cap companies are typically companies which are not very large, have got businesses that have established well. They are robust, not as robust as the large cap company in terms of handling a crisis or uh, uh, actually doing well in a when the economy does poorly. So mid cap companies are companies whose rate of growth will be faster. At the same time, the risk of a business failure is also higher. The risk is highest in small cap companies and risk is lowest in large cap companies. So mid cap companies are somewhere in between. Mid caps generally do very well when economy does well, because mid cap companies have got chance to grow faster because they're agile, their costs are not very high, their ability to diversify is faster, and they are already established, unlike a small cap company.
Okay. Are there any mutual funds connected with derivatives, like, or commodities derivatives or commodities?
Yeah, commodities are not very easily tradable in India except for the gold funds. There are gold funds. That is the only commodity that is allowed in India in the mutual fund space. So typically a gold fund will invest in a bar of gold which is kept in a custody. So I buy the gold on your behalf and I allot you a unit, but that gold, 1 kilo gold bar, is kept in the custody. So you can buy, if you want to buy a gold bar, you would require 50 lakh rupees in today's price, 1 kg of gold. But you can participate by buying pure gold, 99.99% pure gold bar, by investing even 5,000 rupees, and without actually the costs of entry and exit or the discount that a jeweler generally takes from you. So gold fund is the only commodity that is allowed as a commodity fund in India. But there are a lot of commodity funds in India, commodity shares, like there are metal company shares that are traded, or a copper company shares. So there is a fund called as commodity fund, but it is not a commodity fund. It is a commodity equity fund.
Business fund, actually.
Yeah, commodity equity fund. A company, a fund that invests in shares of metals, shares of copper, shares of cement, or any other commodity, or agri commodity also.
Sir, your analogy of the apples, it works very well, because people don't have to really keep track and keep deciding about whether to buy, sell, or how much to buy, and things like that.
Correct.
Well,
Correct.
and the other analogy that you said, that let's say you cannot even buy one single share of MRF, even if you have, like, a fraction of that share price. But in mutual funds, you can buy a fraction. Now, if I compare that scenario with, let's say, gold funds, would I buying a gold coin of 1 gram, 5 gram, 10 gram, depending on what kind of budget I have, would it work better, or investing in a mutual fund, which is gold commodity mutual fund, will it work? Because when I buy something and keep it in my own custody and I sell it, there is no entry load, there is no exit load, right?
Yeah.
So how such mutual funds are not even justified?
In gold funds, typically for the cost of holding is 1% per annum at the highest, which is quite high. I would suggest, if you find a gold ETF or a gold fund that manages at 10 paisa or 10 bips per annum, which is not the scenario in India, but globally, which are gold ETFs at 10 bips, which operate only on 10, then it is worthwhile. But paying 1% every year, and in India, gold, people don't sell gold so easily. Gold is just not a commodity for Indians. Gold has got a lot of sentimental value. It has got a lot of other, religious connotations also. So people don't trade in gold. So if you want to buy gold and hold it for long, physical gold is better. There is no entry and exit costs. Although a jeweler will always charge you some premium when you buy and discount when you sell, But if you want to hold gold for 10 years, I would not suggest a fund. But if you want to buy gold and hold gold for just a year, a gold fund will do better because you're only paying half or 1% charge. But you want to play the price or the movement of the gold, you want to capture a larger value. And you don't risk keeping gold in a custody which may not be safe.
Correct.
If you're
And
buying
also,
for very,
it's not a volatile commodity that you can take advantage of like a low price and then something like that.
no,
I mean,
it is becoming volatile. I'll tell you why it is becoming volatile. It is becoming volatile because a lot of central banks are now piling up. They're selling dollars and buying gold. So there's sudden interest in gold over the last decade. If you see the price from 2008 crisis, from 10,000 rupees in 2005-6 to 50,000 rupees today, it's quite a large jump.
Yes.
So we have seen a very, I would say, 15 years of very high upward movement of gold prices. Whereas from 97 to 2007-8, the gold prices doubled from 4,000 to 10,000. So we are seeing as the crisis or economies are, or the global economy is showing signs of heavy contraction, heavy expansion, people are looking towards gold as a safer haven. So I always suggest people that because of the shorter cycles of crisis that is happening every 5 years, every 10 years, some big crises are happening. So 5 to 10% of the portfolio should be invested in gold, either physical gold or gold ETFs.
Thanks.
It will.
What is the plan for Lotus Financial over 5 years?
Actually, as I said, I am into financial planning, not even financial planning. I generally tell people what mistakes not to make. Because the biggest mistakes people make, they will walk 1 kilometer extra to buy 1 kilo pyaj sasta. If they go to DMart or they go to Reliance, if 5 rupees it is cheaper. But they will go and invest in any stock or any insurance just because somebody called them and has come to their home. Because they feel that if they don't invest, samne wala kya samjhega? You should ask 1,000 times before cutting one single check. Because we as a mentality, we try to save on small commodities. But while investing, we generally are not very careful. Like a lot of insurance companies have sold investment products. They're very high charge. Whenever tomorrow any insurance guy comes to us, sell a product, you should ask him, what is the cost of managing this product? An insurance product in the first year charges you 30% of your premium. If you invest 100 rupees, you will not get more than 70 rupees back. And you are not allowed to redeem in first 3 years. So the cost of investments is very important. Generally, people get trapped in liquidity by leveraging in real estate at wrong times. Insurance products for investments are very bad. Singularly responsible for destruction of wealth in India in the last 20 years are endowment policies. So I can take a separate session on that. I've been doing research on that. If Premiums That Keep You Poor is a book which I am just started to write. So premium should enrich us. So what is the best premium you pay is for your health. The best premium you pay is for your life, because your life and health are very dear. So you should go to life insurance company and tell me what is the cost of my term plan. My life is very important. That is the role an insurance company should play. The insurance company should ensure protect my house, protect my car, protect my life, protect my health. It should not be an investment. So singularly, so these are the traps which we try to avoid, tell people not to do. And Lotus Financial is, as I said, financial independence, getting people less leveraged, more financially independent. If more people become literate in India, that will be, I would say, the very big goal for Lotus Financial. We don't have financial goals. I would rather say we have qualitative goals.
Very good.
Sir, you are a master of finance and investment advice. So this is little offbeat question for you, for the forum actually, but just because we don't get to meet and talk so often, so I'm asking this question. Somewhere I read that when you are buying some product, whether it's a washing machine or it could be a mobile phone or anything, you're actually investing in that company by giving the company some revenue, right?
Yes.
And you're taking in return the device. So if let's say I buy Apple phone, so if I'm so sure about buying Apple phone and not and not minding 1 lakh rupee putting into that company for some utility or things, I should as well put another lakh of rupees and buy Apple's share worth 1 lakh.
Very good. Fantastic question.
I mean,
Fantastic
that's how
question.
we give the confidence, but confidence of buying an object for utility is one, and confidence of buying equity or share of that company is totally different. For a layman like me, these are two different activities. But I think the finance gurus talk like that, and I was very surprised to hear this phenomenon. Is it real?
I will tell you one very good example. This is more of learning from our own side. And for everybody, very good. In 1997, you could have bought one Maruti with 1 kilo of gold. In 2008, you could have bought a Toyota with 1 kilo of gold. Today, you can buy a Mercedes with 1 kilo of gold. In another 15 years, you can buy an aeroplane with 1 kilo of gold. Maybe 20 years later. So, this is how the progress of items which we consume and items which preserve our wealth. So, I tell people that if you want to buy a car, please also buy the shares of a petroleum company. If you like to travel a lot, please go and buy some hotel company shares also, or airline company shares also. If you don't travel, no problem. If there is a pandemic, you don't travel, anyhow तुम्हारा पैसा तो बच गया. हाँ, जो 4-5 लाख रुपए खर्चा करने वाले थे हॉलीडे पे, तो सामने प्राइस भी डूब गया शेयर का भी. लेकिन the best way to preserve wealth is to buy health industry shares, be it a pharma company share or diagnostic company share or a hospital share. It is a perfect hedge for your cost of high health costs in future. So I always tell people, instead of just buying term health premiums or health insurance, also buy a health industry fund. It will be a perfect hedge for future. Unfortunately, you can't buy education stocks in India. They are all controlled by politicians, and they don't need equity. So they have got so much equity that they don't know what to do. So we are not able to hedge our education costs. But at least
you can buy Byju's. Maybe.
Byju's will not go into college, na? Cost of education is highest for LKG and lowest in post graduation in India. So if you are just getting married, you should buy Byju. If your son is
instrument around this industry, and we'll buy it from you.
So when you're getting married, you should buy Byju. Once your son is 10 years old, you should sell Byju and start investing in some other company.
Which will
So for us, it is too late.
Byju is it, not you. Byju is it.
Thank you.
Yeah, fantastic question. Fantastic question. Very important. Is daily our life, we can use this principle very well. That instead of just buying and putting money giving money to SBI at 4.5%, why not buy SBI share also? Because they're getting very cheap money. When the rate of interest is very low, SBI is getting very cheap money. It is likely to make a good bumper return. Because it's not going to lend at 6% to you. It is going to take 8%.
Exactly. Right. Any more questions?
Anybody have a question? I think nobody have a question.
Yeah, now it's time for vote of thanks.
Yeah. So I think most senior member, CMA Avinash Podar is here. Sir, am I audible, sir? Avinash, sir? Avinash Podar, sir?
He's mute. He's on mute.
Okay. Sir, so I request Prakash, CMA Prakash Khandore, sir, please give a vote of thanks.
First of all, he's not CMA, but still you can request him for giving vote of thanks.
Yes, sir, please.
Oh, that's a different responsibility altogether.
I think Avinash Podar
He's online. Yeah. Let's take it to Mr. CMA.
Yeah, Avinash, sir. Fauza, sir.
Yeah, good. Yes.
Yes, sir. Sir, I request on behalf of Pimpri Chinchwad Akodi chapter, I request you please give a vote of thanks.
Okay, all right. So this is a privilege for me. So I'm very much thankful to Mr. Sharma for his views about mutual funds and all that. He has explained those things in a quite informative way. I also keep interest in the investment area, which was an interesting subject for me at that time. And the practical answers related to the question answer session, which we are doing now. So I'm really thankful to him as well as to the chapter for organizing this session.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Podar. So nice of you. Nice to
Thank you,
have
sir.
senior audiences like you, and very encouraging. Thanks to the CMA chapter and Vikas, Dhananjay ji, Nayan ji, Ashish, and my friend Prakash. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Look forward to more interaction. Thank you.
Thank you.
बंद करा तो कट रहा ना सर अपन बंद कट रहा है